It's amazing with all the scoring going on today, or I should say, these days in the NBA. Lots of scoring, lots of it. But before I go into what I really want to say, Franchise Sports TV, like, share, and subscribe. All right. So this year so far, there's been a lot of scoring going on. Lots of scoring going on, right? Right? Yeah, Luca with the 60 point not too long ago. Um, Giannis recently with 55. And then Klay Thompson had 54. And then let's go so on and so on. Oh, don't forget, Donovan Mitchell had 71. First person to score 70 points or more since, was it Devin Booker back in 2017? And since Devin Booker, it was Kobe with 81. It's crazy, ain't it? It's crazy. But we all know why this is going on, right? They ain't letting defenses play. Everybody talk about the pace is faster and everything. The pace is fast in the 80s as well. You know, he was scoring 50 like that. You had some people scoring 50 like that, like Jordan, Bernard King, people like that. But not like they do today when you're hearing people like Sadiq Bey, if that's his name is correctly, from Detroit Pistons. Him getting 50, was it 50, 52, 54 last season? Rookies getting 54, second year players getting 54. Like I said, the common denominator is the new rules, really, if you look at it. And then the rules constantly kept changing since the 80s and the 90s. Um, Back then, as you all know, the 80s, what happened to Jordan? He was roughing Jordan up. He was still putting 40 on the heads. 90s, I think the 90s and the 2000s was the hardest time for people to score. That's why you look at Kobe's numbers, it's freaking amazing. You know how many 50-point games Kobe had during the 2000s? Let's see here. Look it up right quick. I don't even have to look it up. I got it right here already, prepared. You look at the 2000s, right? Kobe had 24 games with 50 points. This is not also including some of the 60 points he had. 24 games. He averaged 54.9 when he did that. 6.4 rebounds, 3 point assists. He had 24. The second person with the most highest 50 games during the 2000s was Allen Iverson with 10. After that, LeBron with 8, Tracy McGrady with 4, Dwayne Wade with 3, Gilbert Arenas with 3, Jamal Crawford had 3, Michael Redd had 2. I remember those two. I think Michael Redd leads the Bucks in career scoring for one game with 57. I think he had 57 to 52 piece. Dirk Nowitzki had 2. Allen Houston had 2. The thing about Dirk Nowitzki and probably Michael Redd and even Allen Houston's, even probably Kobe Bryant, Tracy McGrady's, and Gilbert Arenas, a lot of them, how much did they shoot from the 3-point? Their 3-point percentage was crazy. They would have had to shoot like that in order to get 50. I think the highest 3-point percentage of somebody scoring 50 was, well, it's always based on how many games they did it. But they would say on this list Brandon Roy had the highest. But, um, yeah. Usually superstars, because most of that list is now, with the exception of a couple of people. But you look at the top 5 on that list, they're going to be Hall of Famers or already in the Hall of Fame. Yeah, the list goes on. I didn't even know Tony Parker scored 50 points. He scored 55. I wish they had when they did it. Brandon Roy, Kevin Martin, Vince Carter did it twice. Anton Jameson did it twice. Paul Pierce did it once. Richard Hamilton did it once. Damian Stoudemire did it once. Jermaine O'Neal. Morris Stoudemire, Rashard Lewis, Jamal Bashburn, and Tim Duncan only did it once. He scored 53. And Michael Jordan's on his list. He got 51 points. Michael Jordan was getting 51 points at 39-40. 39-40. That's crazy. Now, this is games with 50 plus points. 50 plus points. Not just 50. 50, so that's 60 part included. So that's amazing, right? That's in the 2000s. Now you look at the 90s. 13, led by Jordan. The second highest after that was Karl Malone with 40. David Robinson with 3. Now Karl Malone with 4 games over 50. David Robinson had 3. His most famous being at 71 in 1994. Shaq had 2. Bernard King had 2. Hakeem had 2. Patrick Ewing had 2. Allen Iverson had 1. Tracy Murray had 1. Tom Chambers had 2. So yeah, not as much. Even looking the 80s. Michael Jordan had 17. Dominique Wilkins had 6. Bernard King had 6. Adrian Dantley had 6. Moses Malone had 6. Larry Bird had 3. So, the frequency gets less and less each decade you go back. Now, if you compare it to today, the most 50-point games since the 2010s, James Harden leads with 23. But here's the problem when I have with James Harden scoring 23. Most of them are, some people hate to admit, they're shot jacking. Cause you know how James Harden was back when he was on Houston. Most of them are shot jacking. I mean, half of them probably were shot jacking. They're not playing through the flow of the game. You gotta admit to it. But James Harden had 23. Damian Lillard with 12. Stephen Curry with 11. Kevin Durant with 9. Kyrie Irving with 6. I didn't even know he had 50-point games. I'm talking about his. LeBron James had 6. Bradley Beal had 5. Devin Booker had 5. Anthony Davis with 5. Westbrook with 5. Luka now has 4. After last week, I think it was against Houston, he had 50. Jason Tatum has 4. Luka, Tatum, Embiid. Now, Giannis, Klay Thompson also recently got up there. Anthony, all tied with 4 games with over 50. Trae Young with 2. Karl-Anthony Towns, DeMar DeRozan. DeMarcus Cousins was a surprise. Kemba Walker was also a surprise to me. And Jimmy Butler, all with 2. And now, at the bottom of the list, Donovan Mitchell, Pascal Siakam, and Darius Garland, all with 1 each. So, a final conclusion. Yes, we all know that scoring has been crazy lately. But I want to say the frequency has gotten more. There has been... The thing about it, I had to look at this list. They're missing a couple of people. I think in order to qualify this list, I think you had to have 50 plus, not just 50. Because now I think about it, because let me see something right quick. I'm sorry to cut it off what I was about to say, because a thought just crossed my head. Because Sadiq Bey wasn't on there, but somebody else notoriously who scored 50 in the last few years is not on that list. Let's see here. I think you had to have more than 50 to get on this list. Because I do remember Chris Middleton having a 50-point game. And yes, it did happen. He had a 50-point game on January 28th, 2020. Against Washington. Against Washington. He had 51 points. So I don't know why he's not on that list. 51 points in 36 minutes, not even in overtime. He shot for 61% from the field, 70% from 3-point line. I remember that game. He was 100% from free throw line with a plus 24 minus. So, plus minus, I should say. So, yeah, Chris Middleton, I'm surprised he's not on that list. But, yes, he has a 50-point game. He scored 51 against Washington. Seems like it's easy to score 50 against Washington for some reason against the Bucks at home. But, yeah, going back to what I said, I just think the frequency has went up. A lot more players are getting 50 every decade, and this is all due to the rules. Because, I think this goes back to, because people who have pointed this out always say that the NBA trying to change the rules so they can have more spectacle, more people watching, because people like scoring. But here's the thing. I think it also has something to do with what happened in the 2005 NBA Finals, where the Detroit Pistons and San Antonio Spurs played, and those were low-scoring games. I did talk about recently with Ben Wallace. I was talking about Ben Wallace's career, that Detroit Pistons held the Los Angeles Lakers in the 2004 NBA Finals to 69 points, a feat that probably not going to be done anymore, unless the team is just sucky at shooting, missing everything. But for some reason, the NBA, David Stern, they realized the fans didn't like them lower scoring games. They thought they was boring because there's nothing but defense being played. And ever since then, rules have continued to be changed and changed. Rules were changed before that, for those two finals, but rules continue to be changed so they can favor the scoring. And also these days, you cannot touch a player or sneeze on a player while calling foul. It's one of the reasons why my dad is not watching the NBA anymore, because he does not like how the refs in the NBA call fouls for everything. You look at a guy, that's a foul. And they always come at the inopportune time when the game is on the line and the opposing team needs a quick bucket. Believe it or not, this has happened. It's one of my few complaints of because I didn't watch last year's finals. I didn't. I'm sorry. That was one of my few complaints of the 2021 finals. They like to call a whole bunch of fouls to favor another team to improve that other team's scoring. If you don't want to believe it or not, shoot. The NBA have been known for doing shady ass stuff. Ask Tim Donahue, the former ref, who was arrested for betting on games and all the other stuff. But anyway, it's not to go into a long tirade, but I ain't saying these players suck these days. I ain't saying that. They got skill. They're in the NBA for a reason. But I just think the game is being lost on trying to have these players go after the MVP also as well, fight for the MVP instead of worrying about team success. And that's why I don't really care for Giannis if he does not get the MVP or get the MVP. I'd rather see a team win in the finals than an individual getting his MVP. It would be nice, but I think Giannis is more focused on winning than MVPs. It's more of what I can say for people like Joel Embiid, who looked distraught when he didn't win MVP last year. But this is going on not just in the NBA. It's also going on in other sports. This is going on with baseball. This is going on with football. Now you're getting people throwing for 500 yards, 400 yards. They ain't supposed to be throwing for 400 yards because they favor the offense. Because people like to see offense. People want to see 90-yard bombs. That's why so many receivers these days, not to say that Justin Jefferson or somebody like Devontae Adams or anything like that are garbage. Those are amazing wide receivers. But seeing wide receivers getting 145 yards passing because the defense can't do anything, because if the defense are too rough on them, they'll call a flag, defensive pass interference, and all kinds of other stuff. So that's how the sports are. People prefer offense. Same thing with baseball. People prefer offense more than defense. For one, I think it needs to be a balance, because I love watching defense. You watch people's defense. Like I used to watch Ron Artest play defense. Bruce Bowen played defense back in the day. And you watch how they play defense. I think defense is more exciting than actually scoring. There's nothing to thrill shutting down the opposing player who is the star. Hey, that's just me. But anyways, it is what it is. I expect to see more people shooting 47, 42, 44, whatever from field goal and trying to get 60 and 70 points. Shoot. I wouldn't be amazed if somebody tries to go for 80 this year or even 100. I wonder who that would be. Maybe LeBron? No. I think he'll get too tired trying to do that. So it has to be somebody younger. Maybe like a Devin Booker, maybe Donovan Mitchell again. Who knows? But going back to Giannis, I'm sorry for ranting. I forgot to mention this for Giannis. He's up there now when it comes to 40 plus. Oh, no, he's not up there because he got to get 20, I think. 15 more. Never mind. Because I was about to say he got another game of 40 points, 40 plus points and 15 plus rebounds. I think he had to get to 15. So I was about to say he's about to be tied with Shaq and Anthony Davis and Wilt Chamberlain. But never mind. But yeah, you look at Giannis' stats, they're comparable to almost Shaq's. But it's crazy. But anyways, I feel like I talked too much now. But tell me what you guys think.